Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to chair the Security Council Committee established pursuant to Resolution 1533 concerning the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I would like to use this occasion to reflect both on my role as chair of the committee over the course of these past 2 years, as well as on the work accomplished during this time. At the outset of my term as committee chair, and with the support of the Secretariat, a work plan was prepared, featuring our objectives for each meeting, as well as key points of focus that we believed were of importance. During my chairmanship of the committee, we held meetings with MONUSCO and UNMISS on the neutralization of the armed groups, the monitoring of the arms embargo, and the situation with regard to ammunition and weapons management in the DRC. Discussed the illegal exploitation of natural resources, as well as meeting with the DRC Presidential Advisor on Sexual Violence and Child Recruitment, as well as the Special Representatives of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflict, and on sexual violence on conflict, to discuss human rights issues, focusing on women and children, which provided a platform to discuss progress and challenges. We also held open briefings for all member states, in addition to meetings for regional states, to allow all members to be heard and relay relevant information to the committee and address their concerns pertaining to the groups of experts' reports. Madam President, in May of this year, I had the opportunity to visit the DRC, the Republic of Uganda, and the United Arab Emirates to obtain first-hand knowledge of the implementation of sanctions measures. The visit to the DRC and the region was my first since assuming the chairmanship of the committee, and provided me, as well as participating delegations, with the opportunity to hold consultations with high-level officials, civil society, and business people of the concerned member states on a number of issues relevant to work of the committee. Following the visit, I sent a report to the committee and discussed the report's findings and recommendations in a committee meeting, with a view to further strengthening cooperation with relevant states on the implementation of sanctions measures. The past 2 years have been very constructive. They have shed light on what challenges the committee faces in carrying out its work, whilst simultaneously managed to highlight good practices that can be continued in the long run. I feel the use of all types of meetings available to the committee can enhance its effectiveness, such as the use of informal, open briefings, and informal consultations. Madam President, the positive developments remind us that the Security Council should continue to combat the rampant impunity of armed groups in the DRC, and send a clear message to those who intend to undermine peace and security in the country and the region. Some sanctioned individuals continue to abuse and prey on the civilians and to benefit from the cash generated from the illegal taxation of the population and exploitation of natural resources. These individuals succeeded to circumvent the sanctions, as they do not travel nor use banking transactions. Member states should be reminded that the obligation to notify the committee before providing military support to the DRC authorities would enable effective traceability and better monitoring by the committee and the group of experts. This is necessary for the efforts of the Council towards resolving the crisis in the DRC and the Great Lakes region, because with less visibility, these weapons and military equipment can end up in the hands of armed groups, which use them to attack civilians, humanitarian workers, and UN peacekeepers in eastern DRC. I would like to conclude my remarks and reflections here with 2 important points. The first is the priority of continuing to work towards implementation of United Nations sanctions. Indeed, I believe the sanctions cannot be successful if they are not properly implemented by member states. This includes the states cooperating with the committee, the UN Secretariat, and also the group of experts, which is why we strive to enhance this cooperation during my tenure as chair. Secondly, I would like to emphasize the importance of supporting the work of the group of experts. The group has provided the committee with a considerable amount of information concerning the latest situation in the DRC. The experts went to great lengths to obtain credible information with a view towards identifying spoilers. And on behalf of the committee, let me emphasize the great value that we place on the work of the experts, their independence, as well as their security. I would like to take this opportunity today to convey my sincere thanks and appreciation to all who have worked with and supported my chairmanship over the course of these 2 years. Most notably, the fellow members of the committees that I have chaired, without whom we would not have been successful in accomplishing our objectives. And I must express my most sincere gratitude to our friends and colleagues in the Sanctions Secretariat, who have provided us with the utmost support over the last 2 years. Madam President, now please allow me to say a few words on my capacity as chair of the informal working group on documentation and other procedural questions. As you know, I assumed the chairmanship of the informal working group at the start of 2018, shortly after the adoption of the revised note by the President as 2016/619, otherwise known as Note 507, which was facilitated by Japan in its capacity as former chair of the IWG over the last 2 years. The IWG held 11 formal meetings, 5 in 2018 and 6 in 2019. We also held many informal meetings for discussions and negotiations. During its first presidency of the Security Council in the month of February, Kuwait convened an open debate on the issue of working methods. During this meeting, many member states stressed the need for continued discussions and engagement regarding the enhancement of the Council's working methods and its decision-making process. As a result, the discussions and the open debate set the tone for the group's program of work. During the first year of its chairmanship of the IWG, Kuwait convened several meetings and informal briefings on various issues relating to the Council's working methods, many of which were proposed by member states during the open debate. A non-paper containing proposals based on those that were raised by the wider membership during the open debate was also prepared and circulated to members by the chair. During the second year of our chairmanship in 2019, we drafted and circulated 8 presidential notes, which included proposals regarding co-penholdership, subsidiary bodies, visiting missions, wrap-up sessions, and several other issues. Over the course of last year, we discussed these proposals within the group and took feedback from the members of the Council through the convening of several rounds of negotiations and bilateral meetings. We hope to see these notes adopted before the end of this month. We also held another open debate during Kuwait's second presidency of the Council in June 2019, in accordance with provisions of Note 507. This second meeting served as an opportunity to update member states on the progress made in deliberations of the IWG thus far, and also hear feedback from the wider membership on the Council's performance on the context of its working methods. This meeting also saw 2 procedural precedents. The first ever joint statement of the 10 elected members delivered by South Africa, in addition to a statement delivered by New Zealand on behalf of more than 20 former elected members. With the assistance of the Secretariat, the IWG also came up with a set of indicators that aimed to measure the implementation of several aspects of Note 507, including the number of references to Note 507 in Council meetings, the number and format of meeting held, the number and types of briefers in Council meetings, the gender of briefers, and the number of wrap-up sessions held. These indicators were updated and circulated to members on a quarterly basis and remained a standing agenda item in all of the meetings of the IWG. Facilitation for the selection of the chairs of subsidiary bodies were also carried out by the chair in its capacity as chair for IWG, both in 2018 and in 2019, in accordance with the provisions of Note 507, and with the permanent members serving as co-facilitator in both years. We are currently in the process of conducting the handover to the incoming chairs, and we hope to ensure that the momentum achieved throughout the last 2 years will continue when St. Vincent and the Grenadines takes over the chairmanship next year. And to help with a smooth handover, we are co-organizing a workshop jointly with the St. Vincent in January with all 15 members, which will take place in St. Vincent and will focus specifically on the issue of working methods and the IWG. We hope that this meeting will set the tone for the group's work beginning in 2020 and serve as a forum for council members to engage with one another and continue to explore ways to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the council's work through its working methods. Madam President, colleagues, as we have mentioned before, it is vital to stress that improving the working methods of the council does not end with the adoption of the revised version of Note 507. The whole process, including Note 507, which we consider a living document, is a dynamic and evolving. Therefore, we believe it requires an open mind and flexibility, and that the issue of enhancing the working method is an ongoing process. In conclusion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all members of the Security Council, including the former members that we worked with during the first year, in addition to the wider membership and, of course, the Secretariat for their cooperation over the past 2 years. I'm confident that the incoming chair, Ambassador Rhonda King of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, will bring her enthusiasm and ideas to further the work of the group. I convey my best wishes to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and assure them of our full support and cooperation from outside the Council. Thank you, Madam President.